Welcome to Strutmasters.com. The following installation instructions are for the 1997 to 2002 series Ford Expedition or Lincoln Navigator four-wheel drive vehicles. Your standard four-wheel kit comes complete with 2 custom coilover shocks and 2 custom-made powder-coated variable rate coil springs available exclusively at Strutmasters. Your kit should also have detailed instructions, mounting hardware for the front conversion, along with specific directions on how to eliminate the suspension warning light. Check to see that you have all the kit parts along with proper tools. Be sure to follow all the manufacturer's recommendations for the safe placement of lifting and supporting devices. Evaluate your skill level. Our shops tell us if you can do a brake job, you should be able to install this kit. Now let's get started. First, locate the air suspension cutoff switch underneath the passenger side kick panel and turn it to the off position. It is also advisable to disconnect the battery at this time. Raise the vehicle to a comfortable working height and remove the wheel from the corner of the car you will be working on. Now you're ready to remove the upper shock mounting nut. Then locate the air line attached in the middle of the shock and remove it by pushing in on the small colored ring with a flathead screwdriver while pulling the line out. If it fails to release, simply give it a strong tug. Next, locate the bolts that secure the upper control arm and remove them. Once they are removed, pull the control arm out of the way. It is not necessary to disconnect the upper ball joint unless you have a deluxe kit and the control arm assembly and ball joint needs replacing. Now proceed to the bottom of the shock and disconnect it by removing the attached bolt. Now you're ready to remove the failed front air shock. If necessary, use a pry bar to compress the upper portion of the shock to clear the mounting bracket during removal. Before installing the new Strutmasters coilover shock, prepare it by sliding one of the cupped metal washers, included with your kit, over the threaded mounting stud, cup side up. Now slide one of the 2 thick rubber washers over the same threaded stud so that it nests in the metal washer. Feed the upper threaded stud through the vehicle's upper shock mounting bracket. Then slide the other thick rubber washer over the stud, followed by the metal washer, cup side down. Hand tighten the nut provided with your kit hardware on the threaded stud to temporarily stabilize the shock. You will secure that assembly later. It's important to note that failure to assemble the upper mounting hardware properly may cause damage to your vehicle and will prevent the product from performing as advertised and will void the warranty. Now it's time to reconnect the lower portion of the shock. If necessary, use a pry bar to align the shock with the bolt holes. Push the lower mounting bolt through the lower shock mount and bracket and tighten securely. Now return to the upper shock mount and securely tighten the nut. Before attaching the upper control arm, be sure to look for any excessive wear on the mounting bushings and ball joint. The ball joint will need replacing if you can rotate the ball within its joint by simply using your hand. Continue the installation by aligning the upper control arm bushings, inserting the bolts, and securely attaching the nuts. Here's a tip you can use. Thread the bolts through the holes from the outside in. It makes it a lot easier to remove them in the future. You may also want to raise or lower the vehicle slightly to help with the control arm alignment. Finish the front installation by using a plastic wire tie to attach the disconnected air line to an adjacent bracket. That's it. Mount the wheel and repeat the process on the opposite side of the vehicle. For instructions about eliminating the suspension warning light, contact Strutmasters.com at 866-597-2733. Rear removal and installation. The first step in the installation procedure is to place whatever auxiliary supporting device underneath the axle near the bottom shock bracket for additional support of your raised vehicle. You may need to support the other side of the axle as well if you are converting both wheels at the same time. Now remove the shock retaining bolt to disconnect the bottom of the shock from the bracket. Then remove the sway bar bracket to release the sway bar and allow the axle to lower slightly. Locate the retaining clip on top of the air spring, grab it with needle nose pliers, and pull it out. Use a pry bar to pry the bottom of the failed air spring up and off of the lower mounting platform so you can work on the air lines and solenoid. Disconnect the air line by pushing up on the colored ring with a flathead screwdriver and pulling out the line. Then pry out the retaining clips on the solenoid and pull it out of the failed air spring solenoid. With the bottom of the shock loose, the sway bar loose, and the axle in a lowered position, this would be a perfect time to change your shocks since you're already halfway there. By the way, according to data from the Motorist Assurance Program, you need to replace your shocks about every 50,000 miles to maintain safety and comfort on your vehicle. Properly install the Strutmasters custom powder-coated variable rate coil spring into position. Turn it so that the Strutmasters logo is right side up. This ensures that the spring will be correctly mounted. If necessary, you may need to use a pry bar or slightly compress the spring to allow it to slide into place easily if the axle is not low enough. Once the spring is in place, rotate it so that the Strutmasters logo is facing to the rear of the vehicle. Reattach the sway bar and the bottom of the shock absorber. If necessary, raise the axle with a floor jack or axle stand in order to align the shock with the mounting holes. Tighten all nuts and bolts securely, mount the rear wheels, and lower the vehicle. For instructions about eliminating the suspension warning light, contact Strutmasters at strutmasters.com or call 866-597-2733 and speak to a certified suspension expert today.